Hell no. Look where you found yourself. This is Hammer Away, and I'm Viking Stew. Let's get hammered.
Let's do it.
What's up, guys? This is Jaron Galino with Lynch Mob, and I'm hanging with Viking Stew on the Hammer Away show.
Folks, it is Wednesday, and man, we're back here with Hammer Away. We're going to be talking today with Alan Kuczer from Rev It Up. He's a guitarist from Rev It Up, and we're going to be hitting the fast lane, so hang on tight.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
All right, folks, let's bring him on in. How you doing, Alan? What's shaking today? Everything good?
Doing great. Having an awesome day here in California. It's beautiful.
Man, you got to love it. We had a good day here in St. Louis, and it's really going to be something I need to talk to you about.
That's right, because that's my hometown.
Exactly. I'm just like, wait a minute. That just flipped me out when I started reading that, and we'll let you guys in on that in just a little bit. Let's get into this kind of. I hate to take you all the way back. I don't really want to do that too much. I've seen too many people being drugged through their past, and it's like, good God, could we not talk about all that? But there are main things that I talk about a lot on the show about that time frame, the late 80s into the 90s, and how things changed a bit. But I'm always interested in everybody's view from the inside, and what that was like, and what you thought was the real reason that things changed so hard and fast. Did it have to, or was it just that it did, or was there something else on top of it all?
Well, I came from, as you know, Missouri. I came from Chesterfield, Missouri, and when I turned 21, I headed out to California to put together an original rock and roll band. Okay. And a few years later, my band at the time was called, my last name, Kuczer. And we did fairly well. You know, we took off from doing a closing set to becoming a headliner in just months practically. So we were adored by the Hollywood scene, and we did great. You know, the ticket sales were quite large, but we never lost any money. We were able to sell all those tickets. You know, it was pay to play back then.
That's crazy.
But, you know, we had the following. The papers were awesome. All the like Rock City News, and it was just really a fun scene. And as I recall, it was something to do with law enforcement on the Sunset Strip that started to deplete the traffic of, you know, all of us that went to just enjoy hanging out in the streets and finding out who's playing at what club and enjoying Hollywood. But the police started to close that down, as I recall. And yes, the Seattle music scene took over, and it was a cold scene. It became, you know, it wasn't as glamorous when you're forced off the street, you know, and of course, passing out the flyers, it was polluting the streets because so many people would just throw them to the ground. And not many of ours, though. And I always picked them up and gave them to somebody else. You know, back in those days, we'd all get our $1, $2, $3 together out of our pockets and just go to a copier and print a couple hundred flyers and spend the night passing them out. It was amazing. It was just the best of times for sure.
Are there, just as an aside, real quick, are there any is there anything that you've seen or watched, say, in movies where they depict that time frame where you're like, oh yeah, or you're like, yeah, no, you know, one of my favorites is Rockstar with Mark Wahlberg, even though I know it's, you know, you're like, it's not going to happen like that exactly the way it ends. You're like, nah, I don't think that's going to happen, but it was a fun movie all the same.
But we're all different bands and have different outcomes from whatever processes we went through to try to become successful. So maybe someone did follow, you know, those storylines, but for me, it wasn't quite that way, you know, from sleeping in a garage or a house or even a hallway to sleeping in my van, to, you know, and getting a job, going to school and getting a job where I worked at Soldano for 5 years. And everyone had their own path. So I look at it as maybe that was the path for someone, but I don't like people to categorize me as that must have been the same kind of lifestyle I had, because I didn't.
Do you think that had to deal with where you were from?
I think it had to deal with, yeah, how I was brought up and my morals and my goals. You know, usually we had after parties and you'd find me some back room playing guitar.
Yeah.
That's what I was doing, and I'm still doing to this day, you know, and just always feel more comfortable with the guitar on my lap, you know, even sitting here at a desk doing my work. It's just a part of me, and I still hope to get my emotions and feelings out there in music that people can understand and relate to, and hopefully like to listen to many times.
Was there, I don't know if I've ever asked anybody this, or maybe somebody else has already gotten this information from somebody else, but when the grunge scene started coming in, did that start to make its way into the Boulevard where everybody was doing the metal thing and the hard rock thing? Did that find its way there too, or were people just going elsewhere to get the music?
Yeah, like I said, at that time, it was a difference of the police policing us and pushing us off Sunset Boulevard. It was it wasn't fun, and it was taking people away because they didn't want to have to go through that. So no, I don't recall the grunge scene being the Sunset Strip problem, but as far as record sales and the attention, I would say, yeah, it went north.
Yeah, and I think one of the things for we as fans of that music and that genre and that energy from that time frame, I think it's one of those things where it's always spoken of that the grunge thing pushed it out, but it really is about the business, isn't it? When it comes down to
sure, I mean, if nobody was buying the grunge, it would have been a totally different story. Hollywood would have stayed somehow more powerful as far as the music that's coming out, selling to the environment. I wish I could change things, change the past.
I know. I've said it many times where I went to a concert over at Pops one night, and it's kind of interesting that you know what I'm talking about when I talk about these things. You know, I'm across the river there at Pops, and they're like, "Metal's back." I'm like, "Dude, it never left my house."
Right.
You know, I get the grunge, I get the interest in other music, but also it's about the business. If the business isn't going to push it, then you're not going to hear it. And everybody's just going to be saying, well, it's done. That's done. This is in. And that's the way it goes. But it never left my house. And there were bands that were still continuing to go that were putting out some good, really good stuff still. But, you know, some of it wasn't so good. But Who were some of your favorites back in that time frame that that you maybe followed?
Before I went to Hollywood, I would say Randy Rhoads.
Okay, yeah.
I really admired Carlos Cavazo. I saw him play on the east side of St. Louis. I forgot the club out there, what the name of it was, but I really
Probably
enjoyed his sound, and I fell in love with Frankie Banali. I was just blown away with Frankie. I just couldn't believe how great a drummer he was.
Yeah,
and
a super dude as well. Just a great guy to talk to.
Yeah, I met him at Gazzari's once. I'm sorry, at the Troubadour once at the bar, and I thought this guy looked like Frankie, and I said, "Hey, you know who you look like?" He said, "Who?" I said, "Frankie Banali," and I said, "No." He said, "I am Frankie Banali." I said, "No way." So he grabs his wallet and all these he had this plastic holder with credit cards. I mean, he had like 10 credit cards. They all said Frankie Banali. And I was like, "Oh dude, I thought you were a lot taller." That was it. That was my Frankie Banali story. Yeah.
I met up with him. I met up with him in Peoria. That's where I'm from originally. He did a. They did a show. This decades ago now, in downtown, and it was the Mental Health lineup, and it was a great show. And met up with him there. Then I bumped into him at the NAMM show. Same kind of thing. He's at the bottom of the escalator, and I'm like, "Oh, hey, Frankie." We just start talking, and he was great. Fantastic guy.
So I looked up to Carlos for his sound and he has, the Quiet Riot was Carlos, a lot to do with Carlos and Frankie to me. It was a great band. So Randy was a huge influence, I believe. Warren DeMartini, I really dug his style as well. Back in those days.
Were you a Lynch fan?
Yeah, of course, George Lynch. I thought was amazing. I still do. It's just I definitely loved all the great guitar players of the day, and some people say they hear their influence in my style, and I appreciate that.
Nice.
But I'm still writing to this day, and I got back to the Hollywood band about 3 years ago. We were united. We changed the name from my last name to Rev It Up, which is one of our songs that we'll have a video soon released with a green screen. That was fun in the background. So cute little story in there. It's coming out soon.
Okay, good.
And then our second album hopefully will be out before the end of the year.
Really?
Yes.
All right.
We had about 30 songs, 28 or so.
Okay.
So we're working on it. I do actually all the recording of the guitars here in my studio that I built in Morgan Hill, California. And this place is called Louise Park. So I call my studio Louise Park.
Sweet.
And we record the drums and vocals in LA.
Okay. That's awesome. Now how did how easy was that to come about when everything got, it's because you got back together, right?
Right.
And then how did that kind of happen?
3 out of 4 of us were able to reunite. One of us couldn't. That's Bob Massini, the original bass player.
Yeah.
Who's living out in the Midwest and couldn't make it to California. We've been trying a lot with the internet. Elk used to help us have decent connections, not every time, so we could rehearse online.
Yeah.
And we went to Jam Kazam after they went out of business, and that's been a nightmare. So we haven't been able to keep our drummer happy, Bill Migish, on drums. And so we rehearse online. We rehearse here. The bass player, that's the current bass player, Patrick Howe, comes here to my studio, and we rehearse with tape. So we have drums and vocals, and then sometimes on the internet, as well as going to LA.
And then as far as everybody in the band, have they all stayed within a band or in music between the two time frames?
Right. So Bill, he's been in a couple of bands. One's Wood, and Wood, sometimes Chris Holmes played in it as a hired gun. Steven got back into music and put a band together called Rex Roller. He's got some really great songs. And I was in a band called Mobland, and we were quite good. You can probably find Mobland on the internet still, although we're not performing or playing as a band at this time. So pretty much, and then Patrick was a local bass player here in a few projects. One was Jeff Rye's band, and another band called Skeleton Crew.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was reading about that. This was really interesting because I used to work for St. Louis Music.
Okay, that's who endorsed me. Gave me 9 412 cabinets.
Oh wow, that was good stuff. Now, what year was that? I mean, it was
88, 89. I don't remember.
That sounds about right. Okay, yeah, that sounds about right.
And at the NAMM show, they had a huge banner, and our name, Kuczer, was next to Lita Ford, so I'll never forget that. And then back in those days, I was working for Soldano, and Lita used a preamp of Soldano's. I think it was the 2-channel one. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, she was one of our big endorsers. We had the poster, and because it says here in '84, Hensley, Ken Hensley, of course, from Mirai.
That's who endorsed me.
Yeah. He actually lived not far from where I do now.
Oh, okay.
But, yeah. And then as soon as I moved here, he got divorced and moved to Europe.
Oh.
And then his ex-wife dropped off all of his CDs and stuff at what used to be the CD warehouse that used to be over here on the corner.
Right.
It was weird because I went to his house years ago when I was telling him I wanted to write a book, and he said, "Yeah, you can come on over," and so he did. And it's really neat with the people that he even worked with as far as recording. Wasp and Blackfoot, and it was kind of wild, really wild, but a super nice guy.
And he passed away a few years ago.
He did. Yeah.
5 years ago, or
it's been a little while ago.
10 years.
I should look that up and know for sure. But yeah, he went over there and he was touring in Spain. Last I knew, he was touring in Spain with the singer that was from Lucifer's Friend. Anyway, I could say it, as I say on the show often, I could say it any other day but today. Anyway, I think he was on Firefly, he was on Fallen Angel, those albums in that time frame. He passed away in 2020. So November 4th in 2020. In Agost, Spain. However you say that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I had 9 412 cabinets, and the reason I wanted 9 was because I wanted 3 high and 3 wide. Mm-hmm. But my road manager, Chris Campbell, he'd never stack them that high. So I do the largest. I do 3 stacks on my side and 1 stack on the bass player's side. And I think I had 3 or 4 of them live. one on the bass player side and at least two on my side doing wet dry setup.
Oh man. Now you guys have the new EP that's out, and it's kind of easy when you have an EP, isn't it? Because you can kind of say, instead of somebody looking at you and going, so what's some of your favorite songs? Well, I like them all. There's 5.
That's right.
So it's not too hard not to just be in on all of it, and it's not easy to just go, oh, well, this is my favorite.
I love them all. Even one that probably will never be recorded. I wrote it about Michael Soldano's 38 Chevy.
Oh,
and I wrote a story about meeting a gal and that she was so young and she had a fake ID and I better run before they catch me. 38 Chevy. So, I don't think we'll ever play it, but I still love that song too.
There's a lot of those songs you got to be careful with, right? I mean, it's the reason Winger doesn't sing 17 anymore. They say she's, what is it? I don't know. They say she's 47 or whatever they say. I remember wanting to do a Jimmy Buffett tune. It's the Cheeseburger in Paradise is where he talks about hitting on the hotties right out of high school. And then I said to myself, I'm not playing that song. I'm not doing that. That's just weird. It's too weird. Not going to do it. Are there other bands in this where you are that are reformed? Some of the bands that were working and playing when you guys were back in the day and doing stuff?
Right. Since I'm up here in Northern California, which wasn't my home, until I moved up here, it's been over a dozen years that I'm here, but that whole music scene up here, I wasn't that familiar with it other than the few bands that would come down to Hollywood and play, like Vane, which I didn't really know Vane until we actually did a show with them at the Whiskey a couple of years ago. But that it's there are different bands up here in the North that have done that, come back out and do a few shows. But I don't think any of that stuck around and put out a new recording of those old songs like we are. And gotcha. The whole reason is the fact that back in the day, we only had a cassette demo and we never even got to the CD world. So yes, we're printing CDs still to this day of Rev It Up and making a footprint in the clouds of our history, because us as band members, we love what we're doing. We love those songs we wrote. We lived it, we promoted it in Hollywood when we were, 30 years ago. Right. So it's, to me, maybe as Steve reminds me, the singer reminds me, it's your bucket list, Alan, your bucket list. And it really was the highlight of my life. So being in Kuczer band, which is Rev It Up. Mm-hmm. And then, so it means a lot to me. And I just, it's just, and speaking of that, we're playing with Faster Pussycat on the 18th of August at the Whiskey A Go-Go. Yeah. So it's also great when I go down there to see my old friends and we still have the old fans. Yeah. I'll say a couple names, Donna and Teresa. Okay. Thank you, because they go to every one of our shows, and they did way back, 30 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. There's something to be said for all of the, continuing on with the bands and doing new music and things like that. Is there, well, let me ask you this, Faster Pussycat, you're going to have a fellow St. Louis in there. You know that, right?
I don't remember.
Yeah, because they're one of their newer guitarists, Sam Bam Colton from here in St. Louis. So I saw him at the like Charlac pub, and different places where he would play at the open jams, and he and I would jam together. And
Oh,
now
okay.
he's playing for multiple bands now.
Right. Yeah, that's what I heard. That
Yeah.
Sam is.
Yeah,
Sorry,
he's
I
a lead
forgot the
guitar
other
player.
Right.
Real good player, and a real good showman, and just a super good guy. You know.
Well, that's gonna be an awesome show.
Yeah. So do definitely say hello and mention me. He and I know we're good friends. He's been on the show before too, and just super guy though, but does a great show. He's great. He's in a band called Dorothy as well, that just did some really cool shows, and he just toured over in Europe too. But yeah, real nice guy, super great guy. And you guys opened up for Angel as well, right?
Yeah, we did in Ventura. That was fun. My first time playing Ventura Theater, and the town is even so cool. I enjoyed my whole day there. It was great.
Wow. Yeah, would have been. So you guys have been. I mean, you guys have been back at it and together and doing this for quite a few years now.
Right.
As Rev It Up, because what has it been? Has it been 4 or 5 years?
No, I think we're around 3 right now.
Oh, is that right? Okay, 3. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Right.
Very good. And then the next record you're talking about, which you're hoping to have out later this year, is it be a full album then?
Well, I think we're gonna just do the EPs because of so much time it takes for us to get all these songs done and over to engineering.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll probably just release a couple more EPs.
Yeah.
Hopefully another one in 2026 too. And so we'll see.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the beauty of it. I talk about instead of worrying about the music industry, I talk a lot about we as musicians and writers to be the industry of music, so that we're not, tied down to all of that and what everybody, thinks we need to do. There's a lot less stress in it, I would suppose. Ultimately, I'd probably ask what the prime goal is. Is it just to continue on and just have some fun and bring out some new music like you're doing and just do some live shows? And
yeah, definitely. We want to do more live shows with the right bands, and we want to get all our music tracked, and everything else is pretty much a dream. Like to get us in a movie. If you heard the song "Rev It Up," I'm trying to get the engineer to do a little bit of some partitions of the very end, because I think all the stadiums would love that rev it up as they drop the puck, or as they toss the ball up.
Right.
And, it's a good heart pumping, positive energy vibe, which I think most of our songs are of that manner, other than a couple ballads, of course. So I think it's a good time song that would work also in the stadiums.
Yeah. I always think when you talk about hockey, I always think of Megadeth, because he wrote, "Crush 'Em" for his favorite hockey team, and I love that idea, And movies, that's a great thing,
Sure, of course, we'd love to go on tour, but everything costs money, and we're all adults with families. Most of us are. I'm a single guy, but so we got to find dates and times that are good with everyone to do shows, and to go on the road, it's expensive, so we'd have to have a good support to be able to do something like that.
Right. Do you guys, is there a lot of situations where you talk to other bands and things like that? I'm really into connecting people and thinking about that as a thing where you can connect bands and say, this would go good with this. You guys just don't know each other.
I think so too, but I think at least here in Northern California, I guess so in Southern, that it's pretty much the club chooses the band and decides who's going to play support. Like let's say it's Lynch Mob, and then they, who can sell the tickets and cover how much money they want to help pay the bills, right? Yeah. So I don't know if everybody in the audience knows, but it's just so expensive for all of us to do all this performing. So, we really appreciate every single one that helps us and, buys a t-shirt or a CD or, just to help us hopefully break even,
Are there a lot of bands that are out there that are kind of in that same boat where they're just trying to just kind of keep that dream alive and keep it organic?
I think, 90% of original bands probably are on that same path, but original bands are another hard to keep together product because somebody needs to make money. And so then they need to be in a cover band so that they can get a guaranteed income. And it's always a difference of everyone's lifestyle and how much money they have in the bank, what they can afford to do.
Right.
But again, it's for me and my band mates, we enjoy it so much. We just love playing these songs. Yeah. From Rev It Up to the ballads. So these people, if they haven't heard us, please check us out. You can hear our CD free on www.rev-it-up.net.
There you go. I think I put the link in the description down below. So do check that out. And well, hey, Salvatore, we got Salvatore's in with us. Good afternoon. Always great to have people pop in, say hello. Are there any songs that you're getting ready to record that you might be able to just say, I got this track that we're going to be working on and it's this, and I really love it. Do you have anything by name that you can say, I got this song? Or you don't have to, I just thought I'd ask.
I just think every single one of my songs, I have so much love for them that I couldn't say that I love one more than the other.
Sure.
So, we have a few bluesier tunes coming out. Cool. Good Time Lady, for one. Great. It's got a great groove to it. I'm
a huge fan of groove. I just talked with Marco Mendoza the other day, and man, that is just groove to the bone. I mean, it's like, man, it's great stuff.
So we'll release the songs by the completion. So it's kind of hard for me to say which ones are going to be released right now because of the engineering and whatever parts are missing. But Hot Young Thing is another great song that's going to be out on the second album. So yeah, I'm really excited to get these songs out to everyone to hear.
Yeah. Well, I dig it. I won't keep you too much longer here. I just, but I'll just kind of finish up by asking, what would you say, and maybe we could have started with this, but how do you feel about your sound? What is it you would tell everybody out there is unique and strong about your sound in the band?
Well, from the guitar standpoint, I'm rebiasing my tubes, setting the fresh tubes in there and making sure it's got the breakup that I like. I just try to dial everything, even to this guitar, which is more of a bluesy sound. Yeah. To me, changing the whammy out and just making it where I feel comfortable. When I feel comfortable, my sound comes out a lot better. So until I get my guitars dialed in, then it's sort of an awkward performance. So you just got to dial in your instruments and dial in your guitars to get that comfort. So when you feel comfortable, everything just comes out sounding more personal. Yeah. And of course, I got a lot of emotional energy inside me. I've got my own little stories that I put out with my hands, and hopefully get the audience to feel it. So of course I recommend Soldano guitar amps because, you know, I built them and I enjoyed those years working with Michael Soldano and Bill Sunt and Penny up in the front office. It was some great days and great times that I had. And I have a dog who really wants to go outside. So you hear her.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, yeah. So I'll let you do it. I was going to say, we love having dogs on the show.
All right, on. So we'll get Louie here in the video.
Yeah.
She's a mini bull. She's a mini bull terrier with a guitar marking on her face.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome! Oh my gosh. Oh wow.
I let her out, and I'm going to be putting these up. Shut the gate. Dog planning escape, and there's Morgan Hill for everyone. The backyard of Louis Park.
That's beautiful. Oh, that's great. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I was talking with Graham Bonnet a while back, and he's like, "Oh, the dog," and I said, "Well, get the dog in here. I love having the dog. It's great. I have an Aussie that makes her way down here now and again, so it's great. It is awesome."
So speaking of tone, when I'm rushed and I have just a few minutes to set up and go, I have a Fractal FM9. I use that. It's a love-hate relationship because I'd rather have the whiskey give me enough time to put 2 412 cabinets, my Soldano head and my Soldano power amp and my rack. That sound is just amazing. Wow. But, you know, the whiskey just pushes me to get in and get off. So the FM9 works pretty good just for the quick get on and off stage. But, you know, people like Guthrie Govan and Steve Vai and so many other people use the same product. Although Guthrie used it as the preamp side too. Really? Where Vai, I think, is using his other amps for the preamp and using it just for processing the Fractal.
Were you, as a guitar player, were you into a lot of the things that like Mike Varney was doing back in the day with all the amazing shredders that he brought to light? Like Greg Howe and, you know, Jason. There was Marty Friedman, Jason Becker, and all these guys that recorded, Tony McAlpine.
Right. I was probably more in the, I hate to say it because I never like wore makeup, but more the glam metal or glam rock. Yeah. So, you know, I wasn't sitting there practicing arpeggiating every scale I could come up with. I was trying to come up with riffs that people could just easily sing it out, and Steve, the vocalist, could put together a great storyline around. But you know, I wrote a few of the lyrics and things too. Of course, those were ballads. He came up with some other than 38 Chevy.
I said this once on the show a while back, but my friend, we played a gig up in my hometown area, and he was saying about a guitar player that was just shredding away in this kind of pop metal rock song, and he goes, "It just doesn't fit the song. He's just shredding, and it's not melodic to the song." Right. And I'm like, you know, I never thought about it that way. I'm not a guitar player. I'm a bass player and singer, but I'm just like, oh yeah, no, I get it. That totally makes sense. You know, you think about songs like "We're Not Gonna Take It," and you know, it's basically a whammy bar just doing the verse, but it works. and keeps it interesting, keeps it solid, without having to go too crazy. So
back on the tone world, when I came to Hollywood, my dream was, because I had an Explorer right-handed, I flipped it over in the mirror and I thought, that'll be my guitar. It'll be something that hopefully the audience will relate to me. And that's exactly what happened. And I had it built, I think it was 84 by Performance Guitar, although I chopped off the headstock at Soldano's shop. And this is still that guitar. It gave me the feeling that people are going to recognize me for the guitar. Les Pauls, when I see Les Pauls, I think of many guitar players, even Randy Rhoads. But this polka dot V, everybody thinks of Randy Rhoads from that, right? Not just one guitarist or multiple guitarists. So,
right.
And then I decided to take the guitar that I was using. With Mobland. I think I have 5 of these JP6s, and I had this one cut, the headstock cut off, and then I had my buddy George Biseglia, who builds guitars for the guys in YNT and Boston and lots of other bands. He built the body for me, and we gutted the JP6 and put the piezo, the entire circuitry in an upside down Explorer. So I don't know if you can see.
So do you keep it strung? Do you do it like my friend and Hendrix string? Is it upside down?
Oh yeah, I play it this way.
Yeah, but I mean,
so
as far as your strings
it's not high. The low E is at the top like a regular.
Okay, so you do it that way. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah, he always said it was easier to play it that way because when he'd bend, he said it's more natural to, what did he say, to pull than it is to try to push. So my friend, he passed away in December, but he'd play the, right-handed, left-handed. So
the neck shape is what I loved about the Trixie guitars and the piezo and the sound I had. So speaking of tone, these Ernie Ball guitars are really great, although I did rape it, so to speak, and because they would never make the shape for me with a JP6. So. Oh
yeah. The neck is beautiful. Look at that. That is just nice.
Yeah, and there's no paint or anything on this. It's sanded down. Yeah.
Wow.
So comfort is definitely part of sound to me. If I can be comfortable, I can play comfortable and sound the best I can.
Absolutely.
And then I also like there are a lot of amps out there now compared to 30 years ago still have that kind of vintage distortion. And I heard Vivian Campbell playing on Engel Ritchie Blackmore amps. So I actually picked one up, and although it gets a lot higher gain than a Soldano, I'd say that's a pretty great amp for the price used. It's I got it used for $1,200 compared to Soldanos a used one will be around $4,000 in a rack version.
Gee.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sweet. I'm always shooting for the bargain. That's always what I need to get. And I'd still like to find a fretless neck because I'd like to have a fretless again. But yeah, it's gorgeous.
When I worked for Mike, he said, "Alan, why aren't you playing Soldanos?" And I said, "Because I can't afford them."
That's what I just told Marco the other day. He was showing me an Ibanez bass. I'm like, I can't afford that, dude. $3,500 I can't do that.
So Mike made a deal with me. I won't say the amount, because if he hears this, I don't know if he wants it lasted, but basically pay for the parts, and I built it. So
That's great.
yeah. So I built 3, and I'd make monthly payments on it when I worked for Mike, and yeah.
Oh man, that's outstanding. Well, I'll let you get to it. I really appreciate the time. Thanks for being here, everybody. Make sure you check out Rev It Up. You can check it out on streaming services. You can check it out on their website, which I put in below. And anything else you want to say before we get going, Alan?
I just want to thank everybody for loving music, and if you can just give us a holler, that'd be great. We'll keep in touch with you. If you can send us your email address. Appreciate you listening to this show as well, Hammer Away. Yeah. And is this something that's stored somewhere? Just wondering, this YouTube video?
Yeah, you can go out there on YouTube. This will be out there, and we'll we've got other shows out there. I've got other shows that are there, and it's my big project. I'm getting ready to retire from my school job, so we're going to be moving into this a lot. So
okay. I wish you a lot of luck.
Yeah, it's a great way for me to give back, and since I'm now a musician myself, it's great when I'm playing out. But it's great to talk to other musicians, and especially if they've got these kind of projects, and I can help build that and help everybody know about it. So,
well, let's keep in touch offline here, and I hope I'll meet you in person soon.
I would love that. Do you make it back to St. Louis very often?
Well, I have a brother and a niece there.
Oh, perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
So
let's keep in touch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You got it. If you want, you can. If you need to get rolling, or if you got just a minute, I'll wrap this up, and we can talk backstage for just a second.
Okay. Go ahead.
Cool. All right, everybody. I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. Be sure and take care of yourselves. Remember, when you walk out your door, you're in everybody else's world. They're not in yours. So act accordingly, and which means pretty much don't act a twat. But I'll talk to you in just a second, Alan. Everybody, have a great one. Thanks again, Alan.
Thank you.